Hi, this is Ron Turner of FrontRunner 2020. Welcome to this episode of FrontRunner 2020. And ask you to go ahead and ask your question now, Charlie.
Hi, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yep.
Good. All right, first of all, great presentation. Excellent. Thank you very much. My question has to do with when you're approaching voters and targeting them, quote unquote. Do you have any mechanisms or ways of manipulating statistics to see if using the internet is an effective tool in a particular geographic area?
Yeah, that's a great question. As far as the targeting side of things, there's a little book that I recommend every candidate read before they run for office and read it again while they run for office. It's a pretty small book, but it's called Get Out the Vote, How to Increase Voter Turnout. It's a collection of essays by Donald Green and Alan Gerber, who are professors, I think at Yale, and then I don't know where Gerber's professor at. But they sort of go through all the different targeting methods, and they've done these, like over 150 different studies of all these different races on different levels, and they've really looked at some of the, what sort of turnout targeting works best. And they found out that the internet doesn't really work that well as far as like persuasion or increasing turnout. Where it does work well is if you have an established network of supporters, and like I would say something like, if you had an email list, if you're a Republican, of all the precinct captains in your district that you're looking at, that can be a real effective way to target them, like to invite them to events, to let them know that there's a canvas of a neighborhood. But as far as like blasting out a message, like if you send an email blast every day before the election, every day the week before the election, odds are it's going to pretty much end up in the junk email box, or it's going to be in the spam filter.
Well, let me.
Okay.
Oh, I was going to say, I was going to ask a specific thing, and that is when you're looking at demographics, for example, if you know you're in an urban area that has a high concentration of people under 30, chances are using Facebook is going to be a lot more effective than being out in a rural area where there are only 10 people per square 100 miles or something. See what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah, social media is definitely a great way to get targeting specific demographics. I highly recommend that.
But I'm thinking about it specifically in the context of turning out the vote, and being such a new facility, I'm just curious if you knew of any demographic source that would let you try and determine like internet penetration. And my example of, knowing that there's a majority of people under 30 in a given area, in an urban area that will have a high concentration of internet. Is there any kind of demographic you could get a hold of that would tell you things like that, or can you speculate?
I can speculate. I've never done it myself, but I do know a couple campaigns that have heavily used Google Ads, and you can purchase those in a zip code. I'd highly recommend looking into that. It's really affordable. It might not. Google Ads would be definitely worth checking out. Ron, do you have any other thoughts on that?
Here are my thoughts, Peter. But first, I wanted to kick it back to you because there's something in your area of expertise that I wanted to ask as a follow-up, which is relative to the census data. Can you look at census block-level information to see internet penetration or broadband penetration?
Yeah, that's a good question. Unfortunately, I've not seen that. Has not come out yet with the redistricting data and for the what we call the summary file 1, which is more detailed information. But there are a lot of studies showing that there's a strong correlation. Almost, I would say, 90% of people who have a college degree will have broadband internet. And so what you can do then, for example, is pull up the educational level for each of the say census block. Although, you might make it a little easier on yourself if you do it on the census tract level. You can pull up what the college degree, what percentage of the population has, say, a college degree, and you can pretty much, speculate. Well, here are people who are highly wired in. That would be definitely my suggestion.
Okay, all right, because I was curious about that. So I guess what I was going to say was to reinforce the Gerber and Green book that you recommend, which is now in its second edition,
Yep.
because that, to sort of amplify on your response, Charlie, that one shows good statistical results and data on the effectiveness of the different methods. And what they have found is that email and social media and so on don't actually influence the voting behavior. It's good for a lot of other things, like Peter mentioned, including research and so on. People buy the ads just to do research without the intent to even advertise, but spraying an ad over a very targeted population and then seeing click-through rates, and that ends up almost being like a poor man's poll. So there are lots of things to do with it that way. That's kind of what I would add in.
Yeah, and if I can add one more thing, one study that hasn't made it to this book yet, but I worked on a bit while in Michigan, was this one congressional district party decided to send out a postcode to all the voters it had targeted as people who tended to be inconsistent voters, meaning that they would vote, like, say, in the presidential election years, but not, say, the gubernatorial election years. And they sent little cards sort of showing their voting history, like saying for someone who voted a lot, they would say, "Thank you, we knew we could count on you," and it would have the election that they voted in, not which candidate, obviously, because you couldn't figure that out legally. And then for people who didn't cast ballots, and they would have a little message, "Where have you been? We've missed you," and they would show, "Did not vote, did not vote, did not vote." And so it's like it's a little creepy, it's a little Big Brother-y, but it's a very effective way that campaigns are starting to use, just as a little, however much a postcard costs to mail these days, 29 cents, I think. It's a great little reminder sent like the week before the election, and with a follow-up phone call or door-to-door canvass. It's a great way to bump up the turnout. And the two I worked on one congressional district that had it, and we were able to get turnout up by 7% in the sectors of voters who, historically hadn't really voted in gubernatorial elections compared to presidential. So it's, it could just be statistical noise, but I think it's definitely worth thinking about.
Good tips, yeah. And I will make sure that we include a reference to that book in our transcripts and show notes. I'm going to wrap it up on that because I could further waste people's time, and I'm going to stop now to make sure we end well before the end of the hour. We've had some good questions. The ones that we didn't get to, I'll email you and we'll follow up and put you in touch.
Sure.
Okay. And let's see, what else? Well, okay, I'll do my contact information. So everybody, Peter, why don't you run through your contact information one more time?
Sure, yeah. My email is Peter Bratt, PETERBRATT @gmail.com. And you can reach me by phone number at area code 214-422-2434. And you can also check my blog out. It's Peter, PETERABRATT.blogspot.com. And as I promised Ron, I will be giving my Facebook address as well. You can try typing in my name in Facebook, but chances are you're going to get a movie star, not me.
Okay. And don't be fooled by Peter's excellent presentation skills and social skills. He really is a genuine geek. He works with the most advanced software. I asked him to make this a very practical presentation, but the kind of real in-depth work he does is way beyond this. This is just the tip of the iceberg of the work of which he is capable. And so thanks so much, Peter. I do appreciate this excellent presentation.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Ron, for having me, and thank you, everyone who came by to listen.
Great. Let me give all of my contact information as well. And everybody on here, please, we need more likes in Facebook. So that is my call to action for you. Do me that favor. Go into Facebook, Frontrunner 2020, and like the page there. I would appreciate that action. Next, frontrunner2020.com. We put the transcripts up there. I'm running behind due to the holiday and some family time off, so I don't have my presentation, which I gave to the Galveston gathering of Texas Democratic County chairs. But if I do say so myself, last week was an awesome presentation that I gave. The recording is on Ustream. We did that as an experiment, but I'm doing some editing to get the transcript and the slides on YouTube. So we're a week behind there. Watch for that to come up in conjunction with Peter's presentation. The YouTube channel is Frontrunner 2020 TV, and Twitter is the handle is Frontrunner 2020. And subscribe to the podcast in iTunes. And again, we want to make this a community, so please keep coming back every week. Watch the recordings if you miss it. We're building a body of work out there that we believe is important, and we want you to share it and tell everybody about it so that they will be prepared before they run for office and lay all the groundwork. That's the whole point. Thank you, everyone. Over and out.